Well, hello there. Thank you so much for requesting access to this video. Today we're going to go over virtual presentations, why they're usually boring and how you can avoid being someone who delivers a bad one. I want to, go over some tips with you to help you avoid being forgettable or even worse, boring, and instead be someone who delivers a presentation that is impactful and makes a great impression on his or her colleagues, customers, stakeholders, prospects, or whoever it is that you may be presenting to. And we're going to do that by going over just two things. And those two things are number one, the top problems for virtual presenters and a few tips on how to solve them. The second thing I want to go over is storytelling and why I think that you should probably mix up the typical, structure that we have all been taught to follow and how you can change that to be more impactful for your audiences. So before we get into that, I really want you to remember one thing that is crucial, and that's whether you're delivering, no matter what format, whether it's Zoom, GoToMeeting, whatever you're using, even offline, to remember is that the goal of presenting is to activate your viewers' emotions and inspire them to act. Right? One more time. So the goal of presenting is to activate your viewers' emotions and inspire them to act. So I don't know anyone who delivers presentations just for fun. There's always a reason that we're doing it, whether it is to get money for a startup, to get a new job, to get a promotion, to raise money for a nonprofit. There's always some kind of reason why we are delivering a presentation. Maybe we're trying to sell a new concept or something like that. And you want to put yourself in a position where you are immediately giving your audience a solution. You're not boring them, you're giving them value, and you're doing that by landing a small number of key takeaways. You don't want to bombard them with 10 ways to do this, 20 ways to do that, just a few ways. And in those things, you're going to activate their emotions and then inspire them to act. So let's just get right into it. So before the pandemic, I still do now, but I did a lot more ghostwriting for executives and entrepreneurs all over the world. I've written for executives at companies like Coca-Cola, Facebook, Amazon, UPS, GE, you name it. I've written some kind of content for executives at these large companies. But what happened, and a lot of it was speeches, what happened was with the pandemic, the demand for live events, they basically plummeted to zero. There weren't any big conventions. Nothing was really happening last year, but the demand for virtual rose. So while large-scale events in person went down, virtual meetings just took off, and a lot of people were very uncomfortable with them at first. Then we had to adapt, we had to adjust, and even as things are going back to normal now, virtual meetings are here to stay. They're not going anywhere. Virtual presenters are not going anywhere. So why not sharpen your skills and become a better presenter? So that's kind of what I want to do. And one more thing before we get too far, I don't want you to worry about taking notes. I have taken the notes for you and you will get them in your email. It's more important for me that you listen and try to be present in the moment with me as I go through this than you try to, transcribe what I said. So don't worry too much about taking notes. I have taken the notes for you, and we're just going to jump right in and you'll get a copy of that at the end. So, all right. So one of the top problems for virtual presenters is that anxiety is through the roof. Speaker anxiety is expanded. It's just so different now. You can't read the energy in the room because there is no room, and you can't really get live feedback to adjust on the fly because you're usually presenting to a wall of black squares, and some people may be kind enough to turn on their camera, but at this point in the game, a lot of people don't even turn their camera on. So it makes for a more anxious presenter, which is not a good thing. The next main challenge for virtual presenters is your audiences are usually stretched thin by multitasking. They're doing a lot. They've got the kids, they've got work, they've got so much going on that they're trying to deal with in addition to listening to you. The next main problem that I think virtual presenters have is dealing with audiences that have low attention spans, right? So studies have shown that we have evolved to have a attention span that's less than that of a fish. And there's been a debate ongoing for now a while whether that's true or not, but either way, especially if it is true, that presents a very difficult obstacle for presenters to overcome, but it's not impossible. And then finally, the last one is dealing with audience retention struggles. That you may get them to your meeting, but keeping them engaged from beginning to end is another challenge. And then that brings us to a kind of a culmination, right? Because you have a speaker who's has anxiety, who's nervous and probably doesn't want to do it. And then you have an audience that's multitasking. They got a whole lot going on. They also have the attention span of a goldfish or a gnat or worse. Possibly. And then you have retention struggles because they have so much pulling at them. You've really got to be able to keep them from beginning to end. And I know it sounds like a lot to overcome, but it's not impossible. There's lots of ways you can do it. And right now I want to show you a few. So the first one is doing something like what I've kind of done very subtly in here is use animations kind of like this. You see me do it here. You've seen me do it here, where you just kind of have something pop up on screen, and this just kind of keeps their eyes engaged and have something else going on, and it's not just a talking head at them. And speaking of talking head, I am actually standing up right now. One other thing that people do a lot is they sit, and sitting makes you slouch. It changes your posture, it changes your energy. So I would encourage you to speak standing up, even if you're just doing a Zoom, something that you consider small at home. If it's a presentation to someone and it matters, the outcome matters, give the extra energy to stand up. So you can use animation. You can, stand up. Like I said, your sound effects are another way that you can do it. A sound effect at the right moment can really, really make an impact on your presentation. It can make something stand out. So the key to making sure your anxiety is down is really just being prepared, right? Someone who is prepared is less anxious. It doesn't mean you're going to get rid of it 100%, but you can get rid of a lot of anxiety by simply being prepared. And the way to be prepared is to really know your audience, know what matters to them, know, in concise terms, how you can solve that problem. And the biggest thing is to rehearse your material, right? And rehearsal is standing up and practicing it as if you were doing it live, not just reading from your laptop or your MacBook or what have you, because reading it in your head is not the same as standing up and presenting as if you were in front of a live audience. The benefits to doing the latter is that it gets it more etched in your brain. It helps you tighten up your script of whatever it is you want to say, because you can find things that maybe need to be cut or said a little bit differently or amplified if you feel better saying it standing up. So that is why rehearsing is better than just reading and going over things in your notes. It's really the difference between recognition and being able to recall something with detail later. And I go over that a lot more in my master class, but I only have a little bit of time here, so I'm just going to share with you the main points. But if you want to get a lot more, the whole shebang, then that is in the master class. You don't have to sit here and rehearse for 2 months as if you were going to be on Broadway or anything like that. You don't need to go too crazy with it, but I do think it's a good idea to at least have 1 or 2 run-throughs before you do your presentation. So the next thing I want to cover with you is storytelling, why we tell them and why I think that we should try mixing up the order of things. And the reason I want to spend some time on the topic of storytelling is because great stories opens minds. Great stories opens hearts. It drives action and inspires change. It opens wallets. It does all kinds of things, which is why we keep telling them. But you have to remember that we are, again, what we mentioned at the top, dealing with people who are multitasking, so they're probably only halfway paying attention to you. And then they also have a low attention span. So yes, the structure that we've been taught of beginning, middle, and end is still essential, but I think we should consider changing how we open and begin telling a story, particularly in business settings and business situations and presentations. So to illustrate that, I want to quickly kind of break down a video. It's a Will Smith telling a story, and I want to show you that and kind of break it down live as we go through it. So just let me switch over and show you that. And we're going to get me up here and press play here.
So I gotta stand up. I gotta stand up.
So right away, the first thing he does, he's just like, I gotta stand up, I gotta stand up. So if someone wants to tell you a story and they're like, hold on, I gotta stand up, already you're like, what kind of story is this that's so good that you have to stand up to tell it? So what he did there is that's basically a way to hook your audience, right? He's hooking them. He didn't just say, let me tell you about this one time, blah, 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 blah. And he didn't do that. He didn't even say that. He said, let me stand up, I gotta stand up. So that is considered a hook. Let's watch some more.
Go out the night before and you take a drink with your friends and somebody says, yeah, we should go skydiving tomorrow. And you go, yeah, we'll go skydiving tomorrow. Yeah, yeah. And you go, yeah. And everybody goes, yeah. And you go home by yourself, you're like, right? You're like, well, yeah, I mean, they was drunk too.
So I'm going to pause it again right here. The other couple of good things that he did. So not only did he stand up with a lot of great energy and excited energy, he reenacted what happened when he told that story. He didn't just sit there and maybe move his hands a little bit. He got up and he conveyed the emotions and brought the audience members back to the moment of, you know, what's happening. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So just consider your energy when you're doing it and bringing people back to that time. You don't have to, again, be an actor to do this. You just really, really put yourself in the moment that you're trying to describe and then keep going from there.
So then that night you're laying in your bed and you just keep, and you're terrified. You keep imagining over and over again jumping out of an airplane and you can't figure out why you would do that.
A few other things that just happened here, which will be great for pre-recorded videos, kind of like the one that I'm doing with you. He had time to edit in some things when he posted this on his YouTube channel so that you can really, you know, jazz up your content so it's not a flat story. That won't work in live situations. Well, it could depending on your editor, but there's just think outside the box on how you tell stories. This is a visual medium. You may be able to maximize on that.
So you get there, and then you have this safety brief, and you're standing there, and the guys will tell you, well, if the chute doesn't open, what's going to happen is you're doing, well, why the hell, what could happen?
So that, you know, that's the end of that. I go in my course, I break down something else, and, you know, I spend some more time going over other examples like that in the full-on master class that I'm giving you, basically a condensed version of right now. So storytelling is fantastic. So yes, you want to do beginning, middle, and end, but consider starting with a hook. Consider adding more energy. Consider acting out, not too dramatically or theatrically, or not in a way that feels terribly unnatural to you, but really just, you want to get the energy and convey that. And it's not always hype like Will. I know some of you may be saying, well, yeah, that's easy for him to do. He's Will Smith, of course. I'm not Will Smith. You don't have to be Will Smith. You need to be yourself. If you chose that story, there must be a reason why you chose that story. It meant something to you. So whatever the emotion is that you're trying to convey, really, really try to pull that out of you as you deliver your story. So, and the way to do that too, especially in a corporate setting, to tell effective stories is not just to get emotions. Emotions are key, but depending on your audience, you really, really want to pull out some logical stuff and back it up with data and facts in your stories. And to illustrate that, I'm going to show you a little clip that's from my actual masterclass so you know what I mean. So how exactly do you do that? You do it by designing your presentation to go with the way our minds naturally work. Let's go back to Maya from our previous lesson. Remember Maya in the middle of the box? We're going to get inside her head now. And we're going to get inside Maya's brain for right now. So for her, we're going to do the left side. That is a brain. That's the left side. And let's just say this is the right side of Maya's brain. Right? So on the left side is going to be the more analytical. It's going to be the more logical side. Great with numbers and data, facts and figures, and so on. Now the right side of Maya's brain is going to be more creative, more artistic, more about storytelling, more receptive to pictures, videos, and visualization. Okay. So the best way to make a memorable impression and a high impact on Maya is to engage both sides of her brain. So you want to engage both the left and right side of your viewer's brain to make most impact out of your presentation. And in the full-on virtual masterclass, I go into this and so much more. Not only do we cover structure and storytelling, but we cover cultural competency, we cover research, we cover how to use props. We go into an extremely deep dive into how all of this works. And there's even a module on the future of corporate and communications, where there's augmented reality, virtual reality, all those things, because they are here now and they're only going to penetrate business communications even more. So all right, I hope you got a few tangible takeaways from this. I really hope it was beneficial to you. If there's more that you would like to get into, more that I didn't cover, please consider going to phenomenalvoices.com and enrolling in the masterclass. And as a thank you for downloading this, requesting this rather, you can save 25% off by using the code QUARTEROFF at checkout. You can even split your payments into two. So thank you so much. I hope you got something out of this. That's it for now. I'll see you next time.